We write separately. It's something that we just started doing when we initially started writing songs. I think we discovered that, I guess, I don't know if I would call it a talent. I'm not sure I would be so confident to say that. But, like, I think that we discovered that we had a knack for writing songs on our own separately. And so initially that was sort of like how we, how we grew up, you know, like we would write separately, and then we would bring it together and we would like have this like collaboration, much like I think like more traditional bands do. And so that's been something that we've always just really stuck with. It was a formula that seemed to work with the Tegan and Sara project, whereas like as a songwriter I really like to write alone and not in isolation in like a cave or anything, but like I like to be alone for a couple of days and really sit with a song and really like let it sort of stretch out and then take it to the band or take it to Tegan and sort of like start producing it or starting a sort of a collaboration like on vocals and guitars and on arrangement and stuff. So it makes living apart, well, 3,000 miles apart, a lot simpler, because a lot of people think we must write together, so that must be awful and so difficult, but it sort of is just almost the same as when we were like our bedrooms were next to each other when we were growing up. I mean, instead of coming over and playing her guitar for me, she sends me an MP3. I mean, so it really seems to work, and it sort of lets us it lets us like isolate ourselves a little bit more and let the songs cultivate a little bit more. So it's actually kind of cool because I'm hearing final stages instead of sort of like rough work now, and it's kind of exciting to get these songs that are like almost done and you're like, wow, God, this sounds great, and so it's cool. We'd started playing music, we played at parties. My cousin entered us in a contest at her university and we went and played the gig. It was just a gig, so we were excited because the contest, you won studio time. And we won, and so we went and made a demo, and then the demo got into the hands of different people, and we sold it at our school, and then we were opening for people we listened to all of a sudden, and it was like, well, that's weird, and then all of a sudden labels were calling. We were still in high school, and so it wasn't like movie or anything like that. Like, it was really normal. Like, we were sad during some of it, we were overwhelmed during some of it. I mean, it was weird to be in high school and have always thought we were going to go to university and then all of a sudden sort of be grieving that because we weren't that interested. We were pretty sidetracked with music, and it was cool too because we kind of got sidetracked though, because after high school things don't happen really fast. Like, record companies don't swoop down and then suddenly you're on MTV Cribs or something. Like, I mean, there is like years between a project beginning and a project really coming to fruition. So I think that what was cool, like, we grieved and we were feeling overwhelmed, and then there was like Tegan was working at Grabba Jabba and like serving coffee, and like I think we were like, whoa, let's move things forward. So I don't think we ever actually, you know, had a conversation where we talked about what we were going to do with the rest of our lives. It was just sort of happening, and we just committed to signing a contract together, and like things like that happened. But we weren't those kids that, you know, every time a video camera came on, we pushed everyone out of the way to get in front of it, because we really like to be talkative and be the stars. We didn't. We were actually quite shy. Ever since we were little kids, Tegan and I were like obsessed with like recording ourselves and listening back. Like, we used to read books into our little like stereos, and then we would listen back at night to them, and we would like record TV shows and then we would like listen to them. So I love like listening back and like really having different perspectives, and I think that's how we ended up playing music, was because it's like this ultimate way of like recording and listening to yourself and stuff. I've heard us on like weird college stations, or someone's phoned me and told me, oh, you're on TV right now, and I flipped past it and been like, ugh, the sound of our voices on tape I hate. But I remember being like in the store, like at some big major chain store, and our song coming on, and me having this moment, like turning to whoever I was with and being like, oh my God, that's so weird. We did David Letterman when we were like 19. We like, it was like a sort of like a pulling of a string type thing. Like, we had nothing going on for us, but anyway, we got on Letterman somehow, and I remember that being extremely surreal, like being like, oh my God, like, and this is like, the strangest thing was I just kept sitting there watching myself on David Letterman thinking like, I could end up being a librarian, but like one day I'm going to get to like, when my kids understand it, I'm going to be able to pull out a tape and play them and be like, Mommy was on David Letterman and now she's a librarian. And
if
like,
David Letterman's still around.
Yeah,
maybe
but they'll get it. Yeah,
it.
but we, you know, what's not around now, like you look at the, what was the show that the Beatles was on? See, I don't even know his name. People would think, what's his name? Like, when the Beatles...
I don't know what you're talking about.
They were on, what was the show that Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan. I can't even think of Ed Sullivan's name now. Like, maybe one day my kids won't know who David Letterman was, but I'm going to make sure that they understand, and then I'm going to play them the tape. And, like, I've had moments like that where I'm like,
there's lots of weird,
it's
surreal
amazing.
moments like that. We've met lots of really interesting people, weird people, and, like, not us stalking them. Like, them actually coming and seeing us and being like, oh, I'm a fan. And you're like, it's all surreal.